into First Take on this Christmas Eve. Good morning, Kendrick Perkins. Good morning, Max Kellerman. How we doing?
Good morning, good morning.
What's going on, Molly?
See if
I'm good.
see if I can't wipe that smile off of Kendrick Perkins' face in the next few minutes.
Right? Yeah, he might be more like the Grinch. But guys, we had a full slate of NBA action. Let's dive right into it. The Celtics beating the Bucks by 1 point. Max, do you think the Celtics are definitely better than Milwaukee?
Oh, they're not definitely better. They were barely better last night. It's not like Tatum called glass. Let's be honest. You know, there was some luck involved in that. Tatum is a fantastic player, but he was aided a little bit by luck, and it was a tough game. I'll say this. The Celtics, who I thought, I'm not thinking about them in the Eastern Conference Finals, they definitely have chances. If Jaylen Brown is really, basically as good as Jayson Tatum or thereabouts, right? But you can't say they're definitely better than the Bucks after one game. Listen, what have the Bucks been missing, right? A guy like Drew Holiday, according to Kendrick Perkins. Well, guess what? They got a guy like Drew Holiday now. And they got Middleton. And they got the Freak. No, and by the way, and they got Lopez. And they can play, they can't play five out quite like they used to, but they can still do it. And they have another playmaker who you trust under pressure in Drew Holiday. No, you can be impressed with the Celtics, sure, but to say that after last night, they're definitely better than the Bucks when it comes down to the last possession. And then even after that sort of lucky three-pointer, Giannis had to miss a free throw for it not to go into overtime. No way you can say the Celtics are definitely better than the Bucks after last night.
Yes, you can, Max. And if you watch the game, the Celtics built up a 17-point lead, I believe it was. And when you look at the Celtic lineup, first of all, I'm not taking anything away from the Milwaukee Bucks. I think Drew Holiday was a great addition to the Milwaukee Bucks. But let's look at the additions that the Boston Celtics made this offseason. Getting a guy like Jeff Teague to provide that offensive firepower off the bench. Getting a guy like Tristan Thompson, a center that they had been missing. And now that you have Kemba Walker being out, and now Jaylen Brown, who tore up the bubble last year in the playoffs, one of the best two-way guys in the league today, is now getting a chance to prove himself and show the world that he should be considered a star. He's an all-star caliber player. He should have made it last year. Think about what the Celtics did last night. They had two guys in Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown who had 30 points apiece in their debut. The first time ever in Celtic history. The sky's the limit for the Boston Celtics. They're a better team than the Bucks, and they were missing Kemba Walker, that one of their all-stars. So when you look at them, they have a guy like Grant Williams who could come in and play the 3, 4, or 5, who's an underrated defender. You have Marcus Smart. I don't want to have to deal with Marcus Smart, one of the best defenders in the league. If you see Marcus Smart in a fight with a bear, you better help the bear, because Marcus Smart is just that difficult in a matchup problem for us, just taking charges, getting extra possessions. So when you look at the complete roster of the Boston Celtics, they're deeper than the Bucks. They're better coached than the Bucks. One could say that Brad Stevens is a better coach than Mike Budenholzer. So to me, it's not even a question. After watching the game last night without Kemba Walker, the Boston Celtics are the better ball team.
I don't know. Listen, the knock against Budenholzer, it rightfully so, is in the playoffs. But in the regular season, and by the way, Drew Holiday should help there. Really, they did not have that second real playmaker who would do it under pressure, especially when Giannis plays like a big under pressure. But Budenholzer, it was the same thing in Atlanta. 60 wins, and they fell flat in the playoffs, but they didn't have a superstar. And then since then, with the Bucks, they're basically a 60-win team every year. Now they do have a superstar, but they didn't have that real Robin to pair with him. I'm not sure that Drew Holiday is good enough to be that Robin, but you are. You made the argument here on this show the other day that Drew Holiday could be that dude. So now you look at the Bucks and you say, this is basically a 60-win team. Did they get better or worse in the offseason? Well, according to you, Kendrick Perkins, they got better in the offseason. I'm not sleeping on the Celtics.
Yeah,
Everything
they
you say about
did.
the Celtics is right. Jeff Teague's an excellent addition, and you're right, they were a little undersized at the 5, and Tristan Thompson helps them there a bit. There's no question Jaylen Brown's ascension helps. They don't have Kemba, who knows what he'll be when he'll get back and what he'll be when he does get back. They don't have Gordon Hayward, he's gone. No, I mean, yeah, you could argue the Celtics got marginally better, but the Bucks, if anything, got a little better, and we're talking about the kingpins of the East, at least in the regular season. So why is it that the Celtics are definitely better again?
But Max, now you're bringing up the regular season, but every time you have an argument, you talk about the playoffs that when it matters the most, right? When it matters the most. Brad Stevens has proven that he could at least take the Celtics to the conference finals. I believe he's done that 3 out of his 3 years since he's been the head coach of the Boston Celtics. And by the way, Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are only going to get better. Jayson Tatum is on the verge of reaching that superstar type status. Jaylen Brown will be an all-star this year. And when Kemba gets back, it adds more depth. Jeff Teague could possibly be a 6th Man of the Year candidate. So when you look at their roster, Max, again, they are deeper. And look, don't even leave out your guy, Daniel Tice. He played phenomenal last night, an underrated guy who don't get enough credit. So the Celtics have the better team when it matters the most, right? That's what you always say, the playoffs. Forget the regular season.
But when
it matters the most, who's going to step up? That's what you always say.
Well, look, the Celtics in this iteration of the team, or at least under Brad Stevens, has never been to a finals. Now, the Bucks got knocked out even before then, but the issue was so obvious with the Bucks, and I wouldn't just say, oh, it's Budenholzer, it's coaching. You have to look at Budenholzer, of course, but I wouldn't say that's the reason. The reason is they wall up against Giannis, and who else can go get their shot and run the offense at a good enough level and hit big shots under those circumstances that they can be a legitimate Robin? It's not really Middleton. Middleton is more than a 3-and-D guy, but if he's putting the ball on the floor, making decisions, doing all those things, that means the defense is winning, right? So they went and got Drew Holiday. They still got Brook Lopez. They got a big who can defend the rim and bomb. They have, obviously, they have Giannis, who's the best player in the East, unless Durant is 100%. You're acting as though a 60-win team who improved is certainly lesser than a team who, if anything, has underachieved for a variety of reasons in the last season or two.
Well, Max, I'm only going off what you say, when it matters the most. And yes, it is on Budenholzer, because if you go into the playoffs are about adjustments. And when you go into the playoffs and you know teams are going to wall up against Giannis in transition, and you know that they're going to take away his driving gaps, how about taking Giannis off the ball? How about moving Giannis to the 5 and having him going up and setting screens and rolling, being a lob threat? How about establishing cross screens where Giannis is catching it on the low block in that area where they can't double? That's coaching, Max. That's coaching. It's called making adjustments. It's called putting your players in position to be successful.
What's the real problem
So I don't
there?
know what you're talking about. It's not.
Because the real problem was,
about?
Coaching adjustments is legitimate. I respect that. I'm not arguing your basketball knowledge or especially as it applies to this situation.
You can't argue.
Questions about Budenholzer are legitimate, right? However, what's the real issue on the up and be that real crime partner for Giannis, who was unable to do it? The truth is it was Bledsoe in the playoffs. Bledsoe had, his regular season performance. The question was, would that be good enough? It was not, and it got worse in the playoffs. And the whole point of replacing Bledsoe with Drew Holiday is they believe they identified a guy who can do that. So that actually addresses the playoff concerns, at least to an extent. The Bogdanovich deal falling apart, obviously that would have also helped them. They didn't get that done. I expect them to do something by the deadline to bring in someone like that in the backcourt, right? But right now, the thing you're talking about is supposed to be addressed by swapping out Bledsoe for Drew Holiday.
Well, Max, let me ask you a question. Who has the better big three? Would you take Giannis, Drew Holiday, and Chris Middleton, or would you take Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, and Kemba Walker?
That's a hell of a question. I think that because I don't know what I'm getting in Kemba, I don't know when he's going to be back or what he'll be when he gets back. Maybe I might take the Bucks. I might take the Bucks. And the only reason that's even an interesting question is because of the ascension of Jaylen Brown. If Jaylen Brown is really who we saw last night, if that's him, if the gap between Tatum and Jaylen Brown is really very small, then we can revisit this later in the season. But right now, I'll take the Bucks.
Yeah, just
Kirk,
keep
you know
tiptoeing.
who I'll take in Boston?
Keep tiptoeing around the question. Who was that,
I'll take KG. I'll take Paul Pierce. I'll take Ray Allen. You know about that. Kendrick knows what it's like.